Hey everybody, welcome to We Run on Reruns. I'm Amanda and I'm here with my brother Eric.
How you guys doing? We are here with our Stranger Things podcast as we are wrapping up season 3 today. This is season 3, episode 8, chapter 8, The Battle of Starcourt, where we kind of get to the end of season 3, which has been a up and down season for sure.
Yeah, it really has, and I know we've mentioned it a bunch where it's like this season it hits for some people, it doesn't for others, but we've really been ramping things up in the last few episodes for sure, and things are finally starting to come together. And just as a reminder of where we left this group in the last episode, we had Hopper, Joyce, Murray, and Alexei having a run-in with Larry Klein and the Russians at the fair, and Alexei ended up getting killed. We had Dustin and Erica helping Steve and Robin escaping from the Russian lab, and they're hiding in the Starcourt Mall now. We also had 11 and the rest of the kids fight off the Mind Flayer and regroup with the others at the mall while being tracked by Billy. So we have all the kids together now, and they're very shortly going to be meeting up with the adults.
Yeah, and, this is one of those things where I know we've referenced a lot of times that, this show is at its best when the gang is all together. And this is part of what I think makes season 3 a little tough sometimes, is that they're not together at all. They're about to get together here in the first 5 minutes of this episode, but they still haven't actually pulled everybody together. Like Joyce and Hopper have not been with any of the kids at all this whole season, which is kind of crazy.
No. It is. And that's why I love that we dive right into that with the opening of this episode, right? So this is, again, Chapter 8, Battle of Starcourt. And we open up with Joyce driving Murray and Hop to the mall because we heard Murray picking up that signal in Russian over the walkie-talkie saying, hey, the children are at the mall. And so we have Hopper asking, are you sure they said food court? Yes. And Joyce is saying to Murray, she is also certain that these kids, it's their kids. Like these aren't just any other group of children. And we then pan to the next scene with Mike and the rest of the kids watching the piece of that Mind Flayer squirming around under the skin in Eleven's leg. And Jonathan is running around grabbing a spoon and a knife from one of the food court cafeteria markets, and he's heating the knife over
Good
a
for
flame.
Jonathan
So
here.
He's really stepping up here, right? I was very happy to see this from him. And Robin is kind of spinning out a little bit saying, hey, I saw a compound fracture from this girl that I played soccer with. And Steve is like, okay, now is not the time. You need to stop. You're not helping.
Well, she's saying, she's trying to imply that this isn't going to be that bad because, the bone's not broken through or anything like that. The unfortunate thing is Robin doesn't understand that this is not that. We're beyond broken bones here. This is interdimensional stuff that is attached to her. Yeah. And
Jonathan, he's getting right in there. He's going to cut this thing out. And it's way to step up, Jonathan. And he's carving into her leg. There's ooze coming out of this thing. And Jonathan is looking like he's about to pass out himself. At one point, he even has his eyes closed. And I'm like, Jonathan, nope, keep your eyes open. Eyes on the prize here. And he's reaching in then with his fingers. And 11 is just screaming and telling him, listen, stop it. I'm just going to do this myself. And that's when, once he's made this opening for her, she's able to use her powers and just rip this thing out. And it's coming to the surface, and this is when she's screaming and this whole glass pane wall behind her, so the entrance to one of the storefronts, just shatters.
Yeah.
And then this thing that I described, Eric, is looking like a tiny, like, demonic hand comes out, and it just starts scurrying across the floor.
To me, it like represented one rat body. You know, like we saw all these rats explode into this goo and then like creep themselves away. So it was about the size of one rat, and it was just kind of in there moving around. Jonathan's trying to catch it with his hands, and it was very cool of Eleven to be able to sit up and like fight through the pain, but also manipulate it around her leg and then out the opening that Jonathan has created for her. But man, that's quite the way. And this thing starts scurrying away and then gets squished by Hopper. And this is the moment when you realize, oh, the adults are here now, as Hopper has stepped on this thing, and he and Joyce and Murray are all standing there looking at the kids.
Yes, Hopper is fully armed. It's this great scene where it's like he and Eleven make eye contact, and it's like, oops, Dad's back. You know, now he's here. And and that's where we get the credits. So it was a pretty quick opening, but there was a lot that happened. It was a really good opening to the season finale.
Yeah, I think it set the tone that like things are going to happen here. Like there's a lot going on. Like this is a very quick scene. We're going to heal 11 fairly quickly and get everything moving. And we're going to bring the parents in real quick. Joyce is here. Hop is here. And Murray. Like, I love the fact that in this moment, not only do we have the gang there, but Erica is still here. Robin is here. Murray is here. Like, they've brought in the additional group mates here as well, which is cool because they've been as big a part of this season 3 story as anybody else.
It's so true. And they're going to need all the help that they can get. But now we're with Mike explaining about, you know, he's talking about the Mind Flayer to the group, right?
I just kind of wrote down story time. Like, let's all explain. We have to have this moment where everybody's sharing facts with each other where, hey, you haven't been here. You haven't been here. You haven't been here. Let's tell each other what happened. And so we've all got to like break down the story for what exactly is going on so everybody's in the know. And then we can come up with a plan.
And I love the moments of humor here where Lucas is like, yeah, we kind of destroyed your cabin to Hopper. Sorry.
Yeah,
that was great.
Whoops. Our bad.
Yeah.
I mean, he did it. It wasn't us. It was the Mind Flayer, but still, it's broken now.
And Hopper's just like deadpan looking back, and I'm like, oh my God, that's the least of my worries right now, but great. And Steve is like, oh, so it's this big fleshy thing kind of made out of melted people? Okay, just checking. Like, that's
and he's like, all right, that's fine. Got it. Understood.
I mean, this tracks with how things are going, so okay. And they're explaining their plan on how to kill it theoretically. You know, this is their plan. Not sure if it's going to work, but this is what we got. And that's when Murray busts out the drawing that he had been working on with Alexi of the mall. And this is how they're going to get to the gate. And this is when Erica jumps in and she's like, listen, with all due respect, if you do what this guy, Murray Bauman, is saying, then you're all gonna die. She is just so aggressive here. She calls him a bald bastard and is just kind of flipping out. Even Lucas is like, pipe down. And no, she's not having it at all. She's not listening to anyone. And he's kind of like saying, well, who is this 4-year-old anyway? I'm 10. Okay.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the two of them are taking shots at each other, which is really funny, but it's good because what Murray doesn't recognize or maybe he doesn't fully understand that Dustin and Erica have literally navigated this hallway of this unpenetrable force. Like, they've done this already. And he's like, well, no, you don't know. Yes, we have. We've done it by ourselves without your help at all. So we can get you there. No problem.
That's right. Yeah. And Dustin is saying, like, we can show you how to do it. We can be your navigators and lead you to the gate. And Hopper's just like, oh, no. He's trying to shut it down because I think in his mind, too, he's still, even this is the last episode of this season. He still does not want the children to be involved.
No, they still have this issue. It's still a thing every year where it's like, oh, okay, you guys sit on the sidelines. We'll take care of this now. Really? Like, they've been at the forefront the whole time. Now they're just going to sit on the bench? I don't think so.
Yep, and Erica and Dustin are like, all right, we're pretty much going to die now. Let's just agree to that is our future. So Hopper is finally, though, agreeing to let Dustin help when Dustin is pointing out, you need something more powerful than these walkie-talkies. I have a radio tower situated at the highest point in Hawkins, and that is going to be what's allowing us to communicate. And, we need your car too. So he's agreeing to this, and in this next shot, we see Steve, Robin, Erica, and Dustin all heading out of there in the Toddfather, that convertible that they've acquired.
Which is a great moment because they get out there, and Steve sees the Toddfather. He's like, oh, man. And he's like, screw Todd, Steve's her daddy now, which is such a funny line. Because he is so pumped to be driving this like convertible out of nowhere. That's right. We totally wasn't expecting it, but yeah, it's it's cool. He's really pumped to just get behind the wheel of this car.
Mm-hmm. And then you have this brief moment where you see Murray kind of explaining his keys to his bunker to Steve and Nancy. I mean, to Jonathan and Nancy. And we have Joyce also explaining to Will, like, listen, I just want you to be safe. Listen to your brother. And he's also worried about her. You also have this moment between Hopper and Eleven, where they're just, trying to reconnect. So you're just having these brief snippets of like each of them trying to reconnect before they're all going to be parting ways again.
It's just one of those moments to showcase parent and child. Hey, be safe, be thinking about what you're doing, try to make sure you get back from this whole thing. And Will is still having a tough time here because Joyce doesn't want him to do anything.
Yeah.
And 11 and Hopper kind of have this cool little moment between them, but it's all small stuff because, but I feel like the most noteworthy thing from this is that as they all disband, 11 is going with Mike's group and Hopper stops and goes, hey, Mike. And Mike looks back at Hopper, and you have like suddenly everything from early season is flashing back where it's like Hopper's yelling at Mike and getting him to leave 11 alone and like celebrating in the car, and all that is on the back burner. And he goes, Mike, be careful.
Yeah.
And like he is now entrusting Mike with 11, which is a cool moment for Mike and Hopper.
Yeah. That's right. And then we see Murray and Hopper and Joyce all walking down through this back hall where they're saying, listen, we have two options. We can turn it off, meaning that machine, and make it explode, or that's really the only option that we're going to go with now. Like, basically have it not explode or explode, and they want to destroy this thing so they can't continue to use it and just recreate what they've started. So they're saying it's a 3-man operation. So that's why all three of them are needed now. And we also
because someone's got to pull the wires out, and then two people have to turn the keys.
The two keys.
You can't have people in all three of these spots, even though when Alexi was explaining it, it was a 2-man operation because they would just have the keys.
Exactly.
Well, someone's got to pull the wires first, and that is that's going to be Murray.
Yeah, that's right. And we then see Nancy and Jonathan, and they're trying to leave with 11, Max, and the boys, but the car is not starting. And Jonathan is noticing, the ignition cable is gone. And they look up into the distance, and who is out there with his high beams on, revving his engine, looking awful demonic, but Billy. And he's flashing his lights at them, and they all jump right out of the car then and run back into the mall. And this is a great moment where Nancy just starts banging on the window and they all jump out, and it's, So guess what? This plan has now changed. They are no longer going to Murray Bowman's. So we're back with Hop and Murray and Joyce then in that elevator, and they're going back down to the basement, or down for the first time for them. And Murray is saying, yeah, he'll yank the cables and set off the alarm. They're going to retrieve the keys from the vault and then explode this thing to destroy the rift and close it up right under the commies' noses. And Murray is saying, I love this moment, Eric, because he's like, yeah, if it all goes right, they'll never even know we're here. And then the elevator doors open and they're literally standing right there.
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 guards right there in his face. It's like, up. And I love how he starts talking in Russian immediately. Like, Murray is real quick on his feet with this sort of stuff. And he just immediately goes into a conversation about how, hey, we're like new from up, like they sent us down, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, well, who sent you? And he's like, well, the lieutenant. Which lieutenant? And he's like, Lieutenant Molotov? And that's when Murray gets shoved aside and Hopper just mows them all down with a Uzi. And it's like, well,
I guess.
Okay, that's one way of doing things too.
Yep.
But the idea of them not knowing is about 0 now.
Yep. And he's like, well, I had it under control. He's like, well, I'm improvising now. And he's grabbing their uniforms. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, I do agree with Jim here. It's like, I think that they would have just run off and like informed someone else. So this is what needs to be done.
I don't hate the idea of also then taking the uniforms.
Exactly.
I think that part makes it okay.
That was a really important part to this whole thing.
Yeah,
working
like
out.
if you just like mowed them all down and walked on, that it would be like, wow, that's just not smart.
Right.
But to be able to take their uniforms, that helps because we'll see in the next scene, Murray's got to do it again.
That's right. Yeah, and then we're with Steve with the kids, and they're questioning the reality of Susie still, and even Steve is hesitating. And Dustin's like, "Is that a hesitation here?" And
No,
not at all. And then I love this, Eric. They're in this convertible, and they're thinking, "Yeah, we're just gonna drive up this hill, this grassy hill, right to the top." I'm like, guys, I mean, come on. Dustin must have known this is not going to work. And this car was not built for this.
To be fair, they got pretty far up the hill.
Hey,
they got pretty far up there.
They made it way farther than I would have imagined. But they get stuck and they're going to have to hoof it the rest of the way up because this Todd's car is not built for this.
Todd father is done.
No. Yeah, he's never getting this car back, by the way. Todd is...
No.
So they're going the rest of the way up the hill on foot, and you can hear Mike trying to connect with them at that moment, trying to let them know, Billy has found us, and he is at the mall. And we are then back in the mall where we're seeing Nancy loading a gun as a precaution, and they're trying to also get the ignition cable from that car that's in the mall. And 11 is wanting to just flip the car with her powers, but it's not working. And they're going to need to work as a group to flip this thing over.
Yeah.
Well,
she's clearly having some struggle points here with some of this as after having that little piece of Mind Flayer inside her leg.
Yeah.
It's become apparent that her powers are at least a little bit weakened right now.
Yep. And we're back with Murray and Hop dressed as soldiers now in one of those golf cart things. And yeah, this is where, as Eric was saying, Murray's smoozing with the, with one of the guards, and he's charming his way by. So thank God for Murray, because
really did.
I don't think that, well, first of all, Hopper can't speak Russian, so that wouldn't have worked. But yeah,
Hopper wouldn't have been able to do it if the guy spoke English.
Yeah, no.
It's just...
It's not his thing.
Murray had a real good tact with it where he was able to be like, he explained that they were Russian guards and then said something along the lines of, well, the guard said to him, well, say goodbye to sunlight since you're down here now. And he said, who needs sunlight? We just need our other comrades and maybe a bottle of whatever. And he's like, oh yeah. And that was it. And they're through. And it's like, yeah, relate to the guys. And it's all good.
It makes a difference. And they're kind of giving him a hard time about that. And it's like, no, that is what made this work. Like, he had to seem like one of you.
You guys got...
Yeah.
Yeah, you got through because Murray was smart about it, not because Jim's punching people in the face.
No, exactly. Yep. And then we're with back with Dustin, where he's trying to get through to Murray, saying, Bald Eagle, this is Scoop Troop. Do you copy? And Murray is not so psyched about getting into the vent in the floor either, just as he's getting this page from Dustin. And he's just saying, let's have some silence here, muttering that he is not a fan of children. And he's just reminding Joyce and Hopper to smile and nod if anyone says anything to them. Because,
well, and to be fair, it's smart for Murray to have radio silence anyway. He's crawling through vents. Like, who knows who's going to hear him if his radio is going off while he's in the vent. So it makes sense to be radio 100%. Silent during that period.
Yeah.
Now, thankfully, and I don't know when they worked all this out, but it must have been while they were at the mall, Dustin's got all sorts of frequencies, and he can still radio the other people without having it be on, like, the main channel.
Yeah, or it's like, could Murray have turned his off for a little while?
No, because he clearly has it on later.
Too? Or, yeah.
No, he keeps it on. They all keep them on. But you see Dustin kind of, like, flipping back and forth on his main big radio. I forget what he called that thing when he first brought it in, but the one that they installed on top of the hill.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, should he have, though, Murray have just turned his off while he's in the vents, just as a precaution?
Oh, should he have?
Yeah, if they're down below, and hearing, like, radio coming through, that would have maybe given him
I mean, I probably... No, he can't. Because he's got to be able to radio back to Dustin and Erica for directions.
Right.
But he doesn't want them radioing into him unexpectedly.
Right.
I mean, he could turn it off and turn it back on, but he needs it, though.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. So, well, luckily we know that this place doesn't exactly have high top-notch security. So
I mean, we've learned that. They should just be able to... I mean, they literally walked in the front door last time.
It is bizarre. Right. So then we're seeing Mike and Max watching 11 get a can out of the trash because she is trying to relive
not just any can, any can.
Well, it was new Coke.
It was new Coke, which I thought was definitely noteworthy because we also had the scene with Lucas and the new Coke earlier, but it was also 11, and they were doing flashbacks with this, 11 trying to now crush this can of new Coke, flashing back to 11 back in the lab as a much younger child crushing the can of regular Coke. So you had her crushing the regular Coke and now trying to crush new Coke and not being able to do it.
No, and I don't think it was the fact that it was just new Coke either. We have an issue here.
No, I don't. I don't think the can was much stronger.
No, but we just see Will then getting the tingles on the back of his neck, and he's looking up, and oh my god, the Mind Flayer is on the top. It's on the ceiling of the food court. And Eric, this is like many food courts in the 80s and 90s. It's glass. Yeah. So you're just seeing right through the ceiling, and Mike is yelling to Nancy, and they're all running off to get as far away as possible because this thing is just dropping right through the ceiling, and now the Mind Flayer is just in the center of the food court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
It's
so I have some issues with this scene. But, well, you know what? I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait until we get to the next part. Because the next part is really the scene I have issues with. I don't have a problem with it dropping into the food court. That's fine.
Okay. Well, then we have Grigori and his henchmen coming down the elevator. And Hopper is like, this is taking way too long to Joyce. And Joyce is saying, listen, when all of this is done, let's go on a date. We deserve to celebrate. And she's suggesting Enzo's, where they had originally tried to meet up. Let's go there. And Hopper is trying to clarify, well, when we say date, do you mean? And she's like, oh, no, let's just stop while we're ahead here. And before I change my mind. And he's then staying silent.
Yeah.
So
but
they have this agreement.
This is a nice little moment as well, because it just kind of puts a bow on that storyline too, where it's like, okay, they were supposed to go out, then they weren't. They've been literally mad at each other this whole time. And now Joyce is extending the olive branch to say like, hey, when we actually get out of this thing, if we do, let's actually do the date for real.
Yes.
And that's all Hopper's ever wanted. That's what he wants this whole time.
Of course. And meanwhile, we have Dustin trying to help Murray navigate just before they see, because remember, Dustin and Erica and that group is on the top of the hill at this point. So they're looking off into the distance at the mall and now seeing the lights go nuts there. And it's all flashing and crazy. And they're trying to desperately get in touch with Mike and the others. But now they're only hearing the Mind Flayer screaming through the radio.
Did you notice what Dustin's call signal was to the group, to the gang? Like, because he was Scoop Troop,
was it?
And then they had Bald Eagle. The Nancy and Jonathan with the group, they were Griswold family.
Griswold.
He called in for Griswold family, which I was like, oh, that's smart. That's funny. Okay.
Is because they were in the station wagon,
right?
Too.
Yeah.
That's great.
The radio is crushed here, and now you've got this whole scene where they're hiding behind, like the kids are hiding behind the car that's been flipped over, and they're hiding behind another stand on the other side, and Steve and Robin end up running down the hill to get to the car, and Dustin's like, hey, take the radio. Take this radio, stay in contact. And Robin is the responsible one who grabs the radio, is like, got it, we'll keep in touch. And she takes off with Steve, and the two of them head on down to the Todd father. How they get that thing out of the mud, no idea. But they do. And they drive off with that thing. But then...
Oh, yeah!
Yeah. Let's not worry about how they got it out. But apparently they did.
Oh my God. I guess it could go down, just not the rest of the way up.
Apparently, must have. But let's just say that. But then we have the Mind Flayer is just lurking around the food court, right? And while this is happening, Dustin is again radioing into the adult side of things, saying, hey, we've got an issue. And Murray's like, I said radio silence. And they're like, no. We got a problem. And so he's now translating what's going on upstairs above ground for them. And, we now run into this situation with this Mind Flayer who's slowly creeping around the food court, trying to figure out where the people are. And it's very much like the Predator series, where he's kind of sneaking through the jungle trying to figure out where Arnold Schwarzenegger is, or on a 90s flip, it's very similar to me to Jurassic Park with the raptors in the kitchen trying to find things. There's definitely this stretch where, I don't know if I'm getting too far ahead of myself here, but there's a stretch where the kids, Elle, Mike, and Max make a run through the gap. And they knock, and the tentacles come out, and they grab a mannequin that's wearing the same stuff that Eleven's wearing, but it's not her. And so they're all now tucked behind this counter, and the tentacles are coming out, and it's literally right next to them, much like those kids in Jurassic Park were behind a kitchen counter, and you saw the raptor face coming. And then a noise was made, and in this case, it's Lucas taking his slingshot and breaking glass somewhere else.
Yes.
And so the Mind Flayer moves on. Here's my thing. How does the Mind Flayer just not know where, first of all, Will is? Right?
Yeah.
Right. He should be able to be like, Will's right here. Right here. I know him because we're still connected. That's the thing. And I mean, even if it's aside from just Will, if the Mind Flayer knows that they're at the Starcourt Mall, right?
Yeah.
If they're like, oh, he knows that this is where we are. They knew we were in the cabin. Can it not find them behind a car?
Yeah.
Does it have to like slowly creep around the food court? This scene was very confusing to me because I felt like that's not, it's not real. And I'm saying this knowing that I'm talking about the capabilities of a Mind Flayer that's, walking around a mall. But theoretically, it should know. It should at least, if nothing else, it should at least know how to find Will instantaneously.
Yeah, so to me, the only way that you can read this then with that in mind, because it's true, if it wanted to just kill them, it could have just taken them all out, no problem. The only way you can read this is similar to like the cabin scene, where to me, it's like when a spider gets its prey in its web, where it's like, it then like just like, it'll just leave it there for a little while, and it likes to hunt it and capture it, know it's there, and now, hey, now they're in my control, and I can, like, it could have whipped around the corner and got Elle, which it did with the mannequin, so I guess if we're reading it that way too, then that doesn't really make sense.
Thank you.
But that's the only way in my mind I can make sense of that. That it's like enjoying hunting them. But yeah, the idea that it just doesn't know where they are does not track at all.
No, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if it can know from wherever it is at the moment that they're at the mall because Will is there and they're connected, or because it just can see Elle now. It can see Elle. Like, we see you now. That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
How does it not know? How did the tentacle not just go right behind the counter and grab her?
I mean, this is such a classic horror movie trope, though, right?
Yeah,
where it's like, the thing is right there, and it's like, it could just get the guy, but then the whole thing would be over, and what's the point of the story?
Don't get me wrong.
So
it's a much more fun episode, and I'm not, the scene is gripping and exciting. I get it. But it does fly in the face of a lot of what we know the Mind Flayer to be. Like, it makes the Mind Flayer suddenly look not very capable when it's the most capable. Like we've known it to be more capable than anything else, and suddenly in this moment it can't. And with 11 and her struggling powers and Will still being there, like, I feel like this was the Mind Flayer's, first of all, best opportunity for sure. Second of all, it was an opportunity that should not have been lost. And like, they should have done something here.
And couldn't it have even sensed that 11 didn't have her powers in this moment, and that would be the time to strike, right?
You would
like
think.
It would have, so right. And it just, again, reminded me of a lot of Alien in these scenes where it had like the tiny face inside the bigger face, and it was like coming out. I'm like, oh, it's so creepy. But yeah, I struggle with that too. Totally makes sense. And also, Eric, that made me think of Jurassic Park 2 when there was this moment where Nancy used like reflection to see around the corner. And I also was wondering, where did that random security guard like come from? Or was that one of the Russians that 11 had taken out with the car? Because it just like picked up a body and like flung it.
Yeah,
like,
that's who I assume that was. Like, because there were four? There were four like Russian guards who got knocked down like bowling pins. Yeah. So they were there.
Well, luckily, though, we have Lucas coming through with the slingshot again. He's distracting the Mind Flayer by hitting a balloon on the other side of the room, and the kids are all running then up a back stairwell. And we also see Hop and Joyce running into a control room using that code that they think is Planck's constant, but it's not working. And Hop is saying to Murray, the code is wrong. And Murray thought he knew Planck's constant, but he must have got it wrong. I'm like, this is something we should have nailed down before you got there.
How did we not get this information?
And of course, in my mind, I cannot help but think someone just whip out their phone and look this up.
Yeah, but it's the 80s, they didn't have that.
Yeah, this is not an option. You can't just have anything at your disposal at all times. People just knew stuff, right?
Right.
That was the difference.
And if you didn't know, well, how are you going to find out?
let's hope you have someone like Susie on the line, because Dustin is overhearing this conversation and he is now on a mission. You can see his wheels turning. And then we are with the kids where Jonathan is trying to start the car and Nancy is shooting at Billy. I love this scene. This is probably one of my favorite scenes in this episode, where Nancy is just standing there shooting nonstop at Billy, who is just driving full speed at her, and she's standing her ground. I'm like, this girl has guts. Like, this is just straight up courage. And
I'm also surprised that none of the kids in the car tried to scramble out of the car. They all were like, no, we got this. Like, what?
It's like, well, okay, just all or nothing in this moment. And thank God Steve saves the day in this moment, because he comes out of nowhere. And
I forgot about this moment where Steve crashes the car right through and just saves the day with Robin.
Yeah.
Very cool moment for Steve. Very dramatic scene, and one that I feel like, I forgot about until this rewatch. So I feel like maybe it was just me, but it was definitely one that caught me off guard. I wasn't prepared for Steve to come flying in out of nowhere. It was very cool moment.
And listen, I did have this thought, though, where after they knock out Billy, and he's still alive, though, in this car, like, you have the gun, Nancy. Maybe we just take Billy out, like, right here. Why are we just walking away with him in the other car?
Well,
he's already dead anyway, no matter what happens. Like, he's not gonna go back to himself after this.
Well,
right? Like,
so that's the thing. Like,
maybe they're.
I don't know that if Nancy shoots him a few times, does that change anything, or is he still just his body just under control of the Mind Flayer?
That's fair. Like, is he just kind of a vessel, and no matter what happens to his body, would he have just gotten up anyway?
I mean, he's already been dealt with in a number of different ways. I don't know that I'm not gonna.
Would he have turned into that goo, though, similar to like Bruce?
Possibly. Yeah. He might have just become part of the deal.
It's just something I thought of with that scene. I'm like, oh, maybe just
you would
Billy
think that.
Like,
well, but here's the other thing. Max is right there too. Right?
It's tough. This is a situation.
You're just gonna sit there and execute this kid in front of her.
Well, she was shooting at him. I mean, he was driving
the car
directly at them. Yeah.
But that was in self-defense. Now you're going over and just shooting somebody for
I get
not
it.
no good reason, but it's a very different position all of a sudden.
Totally reframes it, and I get how they can get away with like walking away and just thinking, okay, maybe let's just run off at this point. And
I think they're all hoping that Billy can make it out of this somehow.
Of course, and because his car's on fire, and they look up to see the Mind Flayer looking like Godzilla on the top of the mall at this point, and they're all piling in the station wagon and driving off together. And Eric, this next scene, this is where we get to meet Susie.
It's the best. This is the best scene
I love Susie.
in maybe all of Stranger Things to date. Through season 1 and 2 and 3. Maybe not the best, but I mean, to me, this is peak Stranger Things moment. We're talking about the way that it's shot, the nostalgia of it all, the like dichotomy of everything going on here. It's so good. It's so good.
Oh my gosh. And Eric, I have to say, when I see Susie, every time I always think of, remember Alvin and the Chipmunks? And the girl, I just had to look up her name. Her name was Jeanette. She was the chipmunk. And she had these giant glasses. And I just always think of Susie and Jeanette. Like, she's like the little cute, nerdy chipmunk girl. But
makes sense to me.
And this scene is really funny. She's because finally we get an answer to Susie, do you copy Dusty Bun? Oh gosh.
Oh, this is the start of Dusty Buns, which is so good.
And I love when she overhears Erica. I love this moment from Dustin because he's like, yeah, that must have been some weird frequency. And he's like adjusting his hat and like getting all awkward. And her face is so funny. It's just like, wait, who was that? But
it was actually really good because he's like, why don't we switch to this channel? And so he's able to then get everybody on this other channel. Which does mean they all must have been on the same channel. I'm not exactly sure. Like, either way. But they all get put on the same channel. And he gets Susie to connect to the channel that everybody else is on. And everybody just kind of understands in the moment. Dustin is talking to Susie.
Finally.
And trying to communicate stuff to us.
That's right.
So don't interfere with this.
And he's asking her about Planck's constant. And she's like, does the Earth orbit the sun? Like, obviously she knows this. Come on. And she is like, you can make up for lost time now if you do the song. Well, she doesn't even say the song. She's like, I want to hear it. And he's like, oh, we have to save the world. Like, we don't have time for this. And she's like, listen, you know the thing that I want to hear. And so then it happens. The song.
Especially since he tried to communicate to her a while ago. She wasn't there for it. But now she's clearly been waiting for him to communicate with her, but he's been, preoccupied with the Russians.
It's been over a week.
But that she said that, and I don't believe that time frame.
I know.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
it has not been a week since they put that up.
Luckily, Dustin was not going to go back and forth with her on where she might have been when he was trying to reach out, because he's like, all right, I just have to do this thing. And they have this really cute rendition of the Never Ending Story. And they're doing this really great harmony. Like, she's an amazing singer too. Both of them together it's really good. And what is amazing is everyone's face. Like, as they're singing this, they're panning to Murray's face and Hopper and the kids in the car, and they're all like, what is happening? You have the Mind Flayer like chasing after the station wagon, which is like, you have to suspend your disbelief there. I mean, this thing.
No, but this is all so perfect.
It is.
Like, the car driving away with the Mind Flayer chasing it down. Hopper and Joyce in this Russian military facility, sirens going off, and they're standing, waiting to put a code in. And Joyce is literally putting her hands against the wall and her face against the wall because it's like, what are we doing? Meanwhile, Dustin is belting out Never Ending Story to Susie, and all of it is just so good. It's perfect. They couldn't have done a better job with this scene, and Susie should have been in more episodes, but this scene was so great.
I know.
For her. Dustin was awesome, and Dustin has now been on Broadway, I believe, a number of times. So this is well within his range. Well, and it was great. And of course, they picked a song that is so of the time.
Yes.
It was perfect.
Yeah, I feel
like great. All of it. I have no notes.
Well, great. I know it was so good that like the combination of the tension and the seriousness of the moment with that just carefree, joyful song is really cute. Susie doing her little fist bump into the air. It is really cute. And I just, for some reason, Murray's face especially is like, what is happening right now?
And not to get too far ahead, but I love the fact that when all this is wrapped up, you also get a scene with like Max and Lucas making fun of Dustin for singing Never Ending Story later, which is super funny.
Yeah.
So they don't let him live it down.
No.
But
Susie comes through
still good.
Because just as she's wrapping it up, she knows what she's been asked, and she has that number right off the top of her head. And Eric, I did write the two down. Murray was only off by one digit. He had switched the 7, 4, and 8. So now she has the full number. Hop is typing that in. It opens up the safe where the keys are inside. So And then you have this moment where Dustin and Susie are, kind of doing the I miss you more. No, I miss you more. This reminds me of in Friends when they're like, you hang up. No, you hang up. And then Erica's just like, boop. And she just hangs up. She's like, this is done now. Like, which honestly, like, it was cute, but I can't blame you, Erica. Like, my God.
Erica has taken about as much of this as she can handle.
It was so funny.
And it's like, okay, we're done.
Yeah, we're done with this.
We're moving on.
Yeah. And, but then we're right back in the seriousness because we see Billy getting out of his car and he spots Max and Mike and 11 hobbling off because they're still having to really help 11 walk at this point. And they're going into a different, like a back entrance to the mall, and he's right on their tail. And then you also see Hopper, shooting up the lab and demanding that all of these technicians are leaving. And he and Joyce are now in front of where they need to turn the keys. So they're seeing the gate right in front of them, and they must be thinking like, my God, yeah, this is real. Like, the gate is right in front of them. They're seeing this machine that they've been using to open it, and now they have their mission right in front of them at hand. So they're very close. But then we're back in the other scene with Billy finding Max and 11 and Mike in the hallway, and Max is trying to break through to him, but it's not working at all. He's just tossing them aside like rag dolls, and that's pretty brutal.
Max's approach was the most reasonable approach. He tried to like
hostage negotiate,
reason with Billy, remind him who he was, like, hey, your name is this, you live at this address, blah 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 blah. Like, and he just threw her aside, and then Mike steps up like, hey, I'm like, Mike, what are you about to do here? And he just gets knocked out, and it's like, right.
And even 11. Then
she like screams and puts her hand out, and he just pushes her away because he knows she doesn't have the strength at this point. So he grabs her and then walks out.
Yeah, he kind of throws.
And this is when we end up flashing back down, and Murray is like waiting for this explosion in this room while people are like banging on the door, and he's just sitting there waiting for it. Meanwhile, Hop and Joyce are sitting there looking at each other. They're like, okay, let's count this down. 3, 2, and out of nowhere, here comes Grigori.
Mm-hmm.
We jump back here then to Billy, who has picked up Elle and walks her out to the food court and basically lays her down and does the exact same offering that we have seen with Heather and any of the other people that he's brought back, saying, hey, listen, try to stay completely still.
Yeah.
And then the Mind Flayer is creeping itself down, much like a spider, from the top of the roof back down into the food court.
Yeah.
And as it's getting closer, Elle is starting to creep herself away. We have the fireworks show.
That's
and
right.
All the fireworks are going off. Lucas's plan is coming through, where they are all just throwing these fireworks from the upper deck down on top of the Mind Flayer. And I will say, this scene I remember being very cool the first time I watched it, and the second time I watched it, I go, it's a little CGI heavy here. It's a little like these fireworks are almost too perfect. Like it's just, it's a great visual, but at the same time, it's very not real. You know what I mean? In a show that does a lot of darkness and things, that this is very very different.
It is, yeah. I do like how Lucas lands the first firework. Like, I guess this is Satan's baby, like right in the Mind Flayer's mouth. And that kicks things off. And you can see Billy getting injured by all these hits, right? Because he is the Mind Flayer. And so, like, everything that's hurting this creature, he's also being weakened. And
so we're flipping back and forth here between this fireworks show of Billy getting hurt and the Mind Flayer taking damage from all these fireworks, flashing back and forth with Hop and Grigori
Yes.
fighting it out at the key, trying to, what is it? At one point, Grigori's got Hopper's head down by this gear that's spinning 1,000 miles an hour, and they're right by the gate, but they're fighting next to this big machine. And you can tell this is the final battle here between these two.
Yeah, because Joyce had been knocked out by Grigori as well, but just as she's getting up, she's witnessing them fighting by this machine and realizing, I have these two keys, let me try to turn both of them at once. So she has one of them attached to this beaner clip thing, and she's got that extended on a tether, and then she's reaching. I mean, Joyce is this tiny person too, so her wingspan is not very big. She is not the ideal person to be trying to figure this out, but she is stretching as far as she can. And we also see Max regaining consciousness and waking up Mike as well, saying we got to get out of here. And Billy is looking over 11 and having these flashbacks of his last memories that 11 is then able to connect with him on and really reach his humanity. And I think a lot of this can be explained because he's been weakened by these hits, that he's also kind of maybe lost some of that connection to the monster as well. And
see, I don't know that I thought these were Billy's flashbacks. I kind of thought this was 11 just going through her memory of what these memories were, and she uses them immediately to try and connect to Billy on a more deeper level.
Yes.
Like one of his actual memories.
Sure.
Talking about, you told her the wave was 7 feet.
Yes.
And then...
Right. I don't think he was necessarily
you ran to her
having the flashback in that moment, but these are his core memories, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So then she's saying, you ran to her on the beach. There were seagulls. And she describes his mom's outfit in detail. And then she was pretty. She was really pretty.
Yeah.
And you were happy. And it just is getting to Billy. And you see him disconnecting from the Mind Flayer at this point.
Yeah. And it's calming him down. You can tell in his eyes, he is trying to reach himself again. And then you're back with Joyce, where she's struggling to turn that key, and Hopper is able to overpower Grigori just as his boot is basically pushing Hopper's head into that machine. But yeah, he's able to then throw him into the machine, which then makes it explode. So now Grigori, Russian Terminator, is no longer. And in that moment,
makes Grigori explode, not the machine.
Yes, right. Well, both things happen. I mean, the machine.
But the second thing happens because they get the keys turned.
Right. Yes, exactly. So Grigori is no longer, the machine is still running, and the kids are now out of fireworks. And the Mind Flayer is looking at Billy, who then, because of this connection that he's made with Elle and his reconnection to himself, he is then able to reach into the Mind Flayer's tentacle and grab into it, and he puts himself in front of Elle and really sacrifices himself in this moment.
He tries to stand in the way, and meanwhile we're getting these cuts of Murray yelling on the radio, "Close the gate!"
Yes.
And it's all in slow motion, and Joyce is sitting there trying to figure out what she should be doing, because she's got a hand on one key,
right.
She's got a tether on the other one, and yet she is now looking down at Hopper, who is by the gate, and he's not protected because he's not behind the explosive glass. And so we get Billy, who's now standing there, and he is now getting punched again, with these tentacles from the Mind Flayer, and hits one more time, this last kind of time, right through his chest.
Yeah.
And then Hop is smiling tearfully at Joyce, because he knows and she knows, and then she just flips the keys, and the entire thing explodes. It disintegrates anybody that's nearby. The gate is now closed. The Mind Flayer drops on the spot.
Yeah. And now the gate, right, the gate is fully closed, and Billy is saying that he's sorry to Max, because Max like rushes over to him, but he's dead right after he says that he's sorry. And Elle is then holding on to Max and trying to console her. And we also see Murray running in to the lab and grabbing Joyce, asking her like, well, where's Jim? But he's gone. Like, you don't see him anywhere. And he and Joyce run off just as the Russian guards bust through. And this is like, okay, like, where were these people? None of them came through until this exact moment.
The security in the Russian gate area is out of control.
So we see also Dustin and Erica watching then from on top of the hill as all of these helicopters are arriving. And Dr. Owens is now there at the mall, and Joyce is coming through the air vent with Murray. So they're exiting, and the mall is now surrounded by military. But somehow also Joyce is just walking with no issue and meeting up with Will, and she and 11 also lock eyes. And I think because 11 is looking for Hopper and not seeing him anywhere. So that's really where there's a whole lot that happens in this last moment.
There's a lot there. And that is also a moment I feel like when Joyce finds Will, she's holding on to Will and she's hugging Will because they're now back, and 11 is looking around. And when she locks eyes with Joyce and she recognizes that Hop isn't there, you see 11 going through a lot of emotions as well. And you realize kind of in that moment really how much Hopper did mean to 11.
Yeah.
Like I think sometimes throughout this season it got lost. Mm. But in season 2, it was very evident that the two of them were like super tight. And this season, you kind of got away from some of those things. So
yeah,
it was important to kind of reconnect that a little bit.
Right. They really focused on that teenage angst, I think, of her wanting to like hang out with Mike, and then the tension between the two of them for that reason. And yeah, for sure. But I like that they had that moment before the battle ensued, that it's like you saw them like, they both were holding on to that bracelet together, and they're just having a cute like father-daughter moment in that scene. Before then he had said to Mike, as you had said earlier, like, hey, take care of her, like keep her safe. And so that was I like that they brought that back. And it was very clear that 11 was looking for him here. So it was tough. But that's then when we jump to then the next screen, as we do with season finales with Stranger Things, saying 3 months later, right?
Yes. And so this whole section of 3 months later there's a lot that happens, but when I say a lot, I mean, there are a lot of little things that they kind of tie up, but there are no like major moments of influence other than the Byers are moving.
Yes.
And they are clearly packing up their house and getting out of town. And so the Byers are heading out. And this is where I love that scene with Lucas and Max, where they are mocking Dusty Buns for his song. And they're singing it. And they're, singing it to him. And he's flipping them off. And like, it's a really kind of cool moment between friends.
Also showing off their singing chops, because this group is
they've
like
got
an
them too.
Extremely musical group.
Super talented group here.
Yeah.
I also really like, very subtly, Will is throwing out some of his D&D stuff and saying, listen, like, when I come back, I'll just use yours. I'll just borrow yours.
Right.
And Mike says to him, well, what if you want to join another party? He's like, not possible. Like, not going to happen. This is my party. Which is fun because then they put it in a donation box and then donate that stuff to Erica.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Yes.
So they kind of like pass it down and give his stuff over to her. So you have that. You have the moving away. I think it's also fun to see Robin and Steve have now been fired from Scoops Ahoy. So they go and try to get a job at Family Video. And Robin gets a job, no problem. Steve is a bumbling idiot and can't do it. And basically can't because the guy that runs it, who was the same guy that ran the arcade back in the day, is basically gatekeeping the employment from anybody who he had issues with in high school.
Right.
And Robin is trying to explain to him. He's like, listen, there's going to be all sorts of girls to come here just because Steve is here. There's too many. He's so popular. They're all going to come in droves. And when they all come, he can't have them all. Some of them are going to need somebody.
Oh, my
And he's
gosh.
like, yeah, all right. He can be hired.
I do
And he's like, well, aren't you dating him? And he's like, no, we're just friends.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, good. Hammer that home one more time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, these are all very cool moments that happen towards the end.
I do also,
not to mention the letter.
That's right. And I do also appreciate how this last sequence opens up with like this news briefing of basically saying like, what kind of town is Hawkins, Indiana? It's like, it's sort of like a doomsday tragedy news clip. Mysterious deaths, government cover-ups. Is this town cursed? And it's like, I like that they threw that in because a lot of crazy stuff has happened here.
But it also felt like it was coming from like an unsolved mysteries point of view. Do you remember that show?
Yes, of course.
That is what that would have felt like. And those shows were always of the idea that, there's this one small thing that happened, but we're going to turn it into this big, catastrophe. And I think a lot of people would probably look at Hawkins and go, but all that stuff can be explained away, except it can't. Because none of you recognize about the Upside Down and the Mind Flayer and all the real things that actually did happen from here.
Yeah. And one of the key things also about the Byers moving is that 11 is moving with them, right? And she also still does not have her powers, and she's really struggling with this. So really, it's been ever since that piece of the Mind Flayer was ripped out of her leg. That was the last time we saw her use her powers, and Mike is saying to her like, "You'll get them back," But she's now kind of more of a normal kid, so she's gonna be moving with the Byers and is gonna be starting fresh with them. So, listen, the only reason that Joyce was really planning on sticking around is because Hopper wanted her to, but now that he doesn't appear to be around anymore, she's out of here. Like, she's all set, which I cannot blame their family for wanting a fresh start.
But I will say, there's a scene with Jonathan and Nancy, and there's a scene with Elle and Mike, and there's a scene with, we're just trying to tie bows on all this stuff to just kind of wrap up the season.
Yeah.
And also have these moments of, okay, one person is moving away from the other, and these are all relationships that are now going to have some distance to them, and we'll see what shakes out on the other side of this.
Well, it's similar to the end, like what we talked about at the end of season 2. It almost felt like the Duffer Brothers were always like fully prepared for this to be their last season, and like, let's just try to put a bow on this just in case. Like, maybe. Yeah,
well, you could have ended it here and had them moving away, and that just be the end. Like the way they wrote it, they absolutely kind of gave. Like, they do this 3 months later thing, or so, however many months later,
every time
at the end of all the seasons.
Yeah.
And it's a good way to kind of transition, see these people post trauma, and at the same time, kind of right into, so you can get a peek into their future, what they would be doing next. And
Eric, you mentioned
it's a good way to do it.
Yeah, and you mentioned the letter. So Joyce found the letter that Hop had written to 11. That was when he was going to be having that heart to heart with them. And
in episode 2.
And Joyce is like, yeah, the speech, the heart to heart, and Eleven's just like, what? And she's like, oh, he never had that moment with you, did he? So 11 asks to read it. And so this final scene is in Hopper's voice reading this letter of what he was planning on saying, and then seeing all these moments.
It's what he was planning on saying that he worked on with Joyce, but there's also a scene of him sitting down in the cabin writing a lot more to that we didn't know about until right now.
Yeah.
So it is very much a, it's a goodbye of sorts.
Yeah.
And it's very powerful. It is definitely the most meaningful moment here towards the end. And 11 is, he ends it with, and for your dear old dad, just please keep the door open 3 inches. And that's what brings the house down, right? That, like, anybody who gets emotional over movies and TV shows and stuff, as soon as it gets real dusty in the house, and everybody starts getting emotional on that line, which is really cool.
Yeah. And I like that we also closed out with David Bowie's Heroes too.
Yes.
And
good song.
It made me think, Eric, like, I didn't mention the music in the past several episodes because it really wasn't a prominent figure in these movies and these episodes. And I thought, is that also what felt different?
No, I think it's become a trend that those sorts of things are more obvious in the early episodes.
Yeah.
Where it is more 80s centric and like these are the things that are going on.
Yeah.
And then in these last few episodes, it's like, it's fighting time.
It's action, right? It's hard to weave that in.
Yeah, it's not so easy to weave those things in at that point. So it becomes a very different type of show later in the seasons.
Yeah, right. That does track there. So, yeah, that's how I do feel like the end I could have handled with that last 3 months being maybe like 10 minutes instead of 25. It did go on for a beat.
Yeah.
One thing we didn't mention
I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I don't mind it, but that's why the episode ran long.
Yeah.
Like, because the episode was an hour and 15.
Yeah.
Almost an hour and 20, I think.
Yeah.
Which is much longer. It's almost 20 minutes longer than every other episode.
Yeah.
And that is purely because of this 3 months later section.
Yeah.
Which I think does do a good job of wrapping everything up.
Yeah. And 11 did confess to Mike that she heard him saying, I love you at the cabin, and she said it back. So we also did tie out there with them, but now she's gone. So see you later, Mike. I love you. Bye.
Now we're going to jump into our IMDb rankings segment of our podcast, where we talk about our rankings of this episode based on your rankings as we find them on imdb.com. And we're going to bring up our favorite and least favorite characters of this episode. Let's see here. This is going to be a tough one. I'm still hedging between a couple numbers here on my ratings, and I will be honest with you. There are some things that I have an issue with. Like, I don't understand how the Mind Flayer at the end of season 2 is on this side of the gate. Right? There's a piece of him that's still on this side of the gate.
Well,
when the gate was closed.
But that was because he exited. What do you? I thought
came out of Will up into the sky. Yeah. He's on this side of the gate. And so, like, he's out there. Now we close the gate again, and it's dead. Why isn't it still there? Why does that kill the Mind Flayer? Those two things should not both exist.
Wait, ask this question again.
Okay, at the end of season 2,
exits Will.
we see the Mind Flayer, like, like arm come out of Will and go up into the sky, and it's still trapped on this side of the gate. Never got back through the
that
gate.
Explains then. Okay, season 3.
Okay, so the Mind Flayer is on this side of the gate closed. Then they reopen the gate, and the Mind Flayer starts doing its Mind Flayery things, and the gate, and so now like the gate is closed again, and the Mind Flayer is dead all of a sudden? Is it only active when the gate is open? Is that the thing? Because then if they open the gate again, this giant Mind Flayer thing from the mall should like reactivate.
Well, and it seemed right, like, so is the gate the thing? So because that's what's connecting it to like its own source almost. So that is what brings it to life. So not only do its spores or cells have to be here, but also the gate has to be open. So both of those things have to be true in order for it to be alive. And so now that the gate is closed,
because now those spores are not connected to the Mind Flayer from the other side. Because the Mind Flayer is not on this side. The Mind Flayer is just connecting and building from like through the gate opening. So is that the deal? Because then in that case, the idea that they're all walking around saying like, well, the Mind Flayer is dead. You know that's not true.
Right.
He's right here.
Right. And
he's sleeping is what he's doing.
And what did they do with all of these? Did they get into this? See, this is where I'm not recalling how season 4
like what's the mall cleanup look like?
Like
I don't even want to know
Dr.
that.
Owens,
I don't even want to know. Yeah, Dr. Owens comes in and just like sweeps the whole thing under the rug. I don't even want to know.
And also,
how they
I love
that
how
off.
like Steve and Robin just like get fired from their job. It's like, there was a situation, right? Like maybe they should get off the hook there. They were kind of saving the world, but yeah. That's fair.
Okay, so with that, the other thing that I will say is the Never Ending Story song is absolutely peak moment. It does not make this episode the best episode that's ever been on Stranger Things, but it is an iconic moment. And when I think of this season, and I know, we're really talking about this episode, but being that it's the finale, I'm kind of wrapping all of season 3 into this. There are just so many highs with this. That being one, I love the moment between Steve and Dustin at Scoops Ahoy, where they kind of reconnect for the first time. I love the Mallrats episode with the fashion show with Max and Eleven, and the boys trying to like buy Eleven a gift and not being able to figure it out, and Eleven's using her powers to like explode slushies on people, and it's just fun. I love most of what Murray did and what Alexi did. I thought all that was good. That being said, the thing that drags me down here is some of the consistencies. I feel like the Russian gate, like this impenetrable area, it's like they said it was impenetrable, so that's what it was. But it was, and everybody's walking around just saying, it's like, if you say the Titanic is unsinkable, then it's unsinkable.
Right.
Until it's suddenly sinkable.
Right.
And so this gate, which nobody can get into, if you all say nobody can get in here, then maybe nobody will try to get in here. But in fact, people are walking through the front door. So I think there's just so much with the Russian side of this that is disappointing, that's why season 3 gets a knock. I still liked a lot of moments from this season, though. It's still like some of these moments are my favorite moments. But the season as a whole, I came into a little bit more excited than I'm leaving.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And I was just kind of looking back at my rating from the finale of season 2, which I feel like in my mind edges this one out a little bit. I think
Totally
I
agree.
think I like the end of season 2 better, and I gave that one a 9.1. So I think I'm going to give this one an 8.9 because I still really liked it. There was a ton of action. While the fireworks totally did have that CGI look to it, I also just love that Lucas always comes in with that like extra, thank God that Lucas is there because...
Listen, Lucas fired the slingshot to get the Mind Flayer to move away from them too. He had big moments in
and
this.
he has been really critical in these episodes, and for that reason, I'm really struggling with picking a favorite character. But yeah, I wanted to just give I guess I just dove right into my rating there ahead of the favorite least favorite. So I give this one an 8.9 because a lot of great action moments. There were definitely some inconsistencies or things that you just have to kind of bend your mind around, but it's I also just, as you said, I love that the moment with the song, and I love the moment where they're just showing everyone's reaction to the song, and also Billy finally making that connection with 11. Even though she didn't have her powers in this episode, she was still able to really save the day in that moment and connected with him in a different way. So it's almost like they wanted her to make this other type of connection and a different type of power that she had by like reaching his humanity. And so, they really worked together in the end and took them down. I love Nancy's moment too, where she's shooting at Billy as he's driving top speed toward her. And, it was, definitely great scenes. I do feel like while they spent a lot of time in that 3 months later, I kind of wish that scene before they didn't wrap up so fast. Like, I feel like they wrapped all that up really quickly to then have this.
You mean like with all the like EMS vehicles
like more
around?
like them leaving the mall. Cool like, what happened? What?
Yeah. I feel like you could have done moments there where you could have got Joyce walking over to 11. Yes. But also, maybe you don't need that. Yeah. Like, you don't, like, you understand what that conversation would have been. And so to see them later, after the immediate trauma of it all, I think sometimes is more beneficial.
There.
I do enjoy the shows that, like, give me a taste of what the future for characters is going to look like as seasons and stuff are ending. I think that is helpful because it provides, I think, better closure on an episode than something that that just ends harshly, and I have to think, well, what would they do next? And now I can see it
but
a
I
little
also
bit.
do feel like season 3 lands better knowing what's to come still. Like, knowing what we know about how the entire series wraps up. It's like, okay, I could forgive, like, if this had been like the series finale, I think I would have had more problems. Not that, but because it's not, and because we know what's to come, I'd still so.
Well, and it's like someone like Hopper felt very out of place in this season. He felt like he was no longer the same character anymore, and that was a little disappointing. That being said, you've already given your rating, so I'm going to give my rating as well. You gave it an 8.9. I'm going to give it a 9. I gave last season's season finale a 9.2. Okay. To go lower than a 9 with the fireworks and the never-ending story and Hopper essentially sacrificing himself and all of the other things that went on here, I feel like going less than a 9 is not real. Like, I did think about 8.9 as well, but I'm going to go with at least a 9.0. And we'll see what the fans say here later. Who are you settling on for favorite and least favorite characters?
Okay. So I have really been torn between a few people for favorite, and that is Steve, Dustin, and Lucas.
Okay.
And as we talk through
I
this
do have one of those as my favorite.
You do.
It's not going to be a question. You know who I'm picking already. You should.
Well, Steve's moment of him flying in with the car, like, that is an amazing scene there. For Dustin, it's obviously the song. I mean, we keep talking about it, and he, like, it wasn't, unless he had connected with Susie, none of this would have gone down the way that it did. But I'm landing on Lucas because I love, like, first of all, I don't know what it was about the timing of that joke in the beginning of this episode where, like, he's like, oh yeah, we kind of destroyed your cabin.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. I just love that moment from him so much. And like, again, like the fireworks, he was there. He was throwing them right at the Mind Flayer. I mean, this thing was taken out, because of Lucas.
Lucas's scene at the end with Max, like making fun of Dustin, is really funny.
I love that.
Super funny.
It was really funny, and also he was showing off his chops, so I went with Lucas for my favorite. But Eric, so wait, hold on, it's gotta be Dustin.
It is Dustin. There is no other question here. This is Dustin's moment. This is his moment, and I agree. Maybe there were other characters who had more impact throughout the entire episode, but this is too good. This never-ending story section.
This is his episode.
One of my favorite things that they do. And not only that, but I would argue that Dustin also is the key to all of this. He is the radio guy. He is connecting everybody to everything. He is the one staying in contact. It is his show. As much as the adults want to think.
Steve and Robin. Like, he's the reason they're all there. Yeah.
As much as the adults want to think they're the ones who were down there doing the thing, none of them get to be in the position they're in without Dustin. So it's Dustin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's solid. 100%. I love that.
I will say least favorite was a little trickier. And I think I'm going to pick somebody that you would not have picked. But when I look through the different sections of this episode, the scenes that I liked least were the scenes where Nancy was the focus. And so I'm picking Nancy. Now, don't get me wrong. The idea of her standing there, pointing the barrel of the gun right down Billy and like shooting, that was a cool moment. But the Nancy Jonathan, like, goodbye at the end, I don't care about that.
I liked it. I felt like it was good. I prefer that.
But like, it doesn't make any sense with everything else they've been talking about this whole season.
I prefer that scene over other scenes that are to come, which were the scenes that will go unspoken, because we're staying on track with the rewatch mentality. We're only talking about the past. We're not going to jump ahead here, but when we do get there, I'll bring it up. But either way, I like, and I actually appreciate their moment more than Mike and Elle's. I just did. I went with Mike as my least favorite. Mike just, I don't know. I just really, listen.
That's fine.
Nothing against Mike. He's trying his hardest here.
Mike,
but he got knocked out right away. He really wasn't
Mike
in it
didn't
too much.
have a lot going on in this episode. Other than helping throw fireworks, Mike's big moment was being told, "Hey, be careful" by Hop.
Yeah.
So and then it's all stuff at the end.
Yeah, I think
that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah, and I mean, he warned Nancy that obviously the thing was about to come through the ceiling, but they could all kind of see that at that point. And I would like to think so. And I just kind of, again, it felt like he was sort of, I don't know, like there are different points where I'm like, guys, like 11, I know she doesn't have her powers right now, but she's got this, Mike. Like, I know I was making the argument in earlier episodes where...
I feel like I was very harsh on Mike earlier in the season, and justifiably so. But you're right. He did not have a great finale episode. He could easily have been the least favorite. The Wheeler kids, not great. Didn't finish strong.
But I felt like Nancy, to me, yeah, she edged him out a little bit in my mind. But I also understand, like, neither of them. I mean, same even Jonathan, though, he had his moment where he was cutting that thing out of Elle's leg.
Well, that's okay. So Jonathan was also on the list because, again, the Jonathan Nancy scene at the end, I could have done without that. I prefer Jonathan with the knife cutting Elle's leg open to Nancy with the gun. Like those between the two scenes, I feel like Jonathan was more impactful in his scene than Nancy was in hers.
And to be honest, we could have even, there's an argument for Will even in this one, because it's sort of like, well, but he was the one sensing that the thing is coming, but he's just filled with fear. I mean, he is really not moving anywhere in these. He's like knowing it's there, but otherwise really not taking too much action. No,
he's taking about it. I mean, he's just part of the group.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and I agree. You're right. He and Mike are in this one largely left on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Lucas is doing a lot. And like, that's the thing. They could have given Will some of Lucas's things.
Yeah, I just think that they're really trying to, I do appreciate, I guess, trying to stick with their, like, who they are, right? It's like, this is where Will is at right now. He is, he's not that guy in this moment. Nah.
So anyway, my favorite character, Dustin. Yours is Lucas. Least favorites, we're going to go with Nancy and Mike. And then I gave this episode a 9. You gave it an 8.9. Yeah, and the people on IMDb have given it a 9.3.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm actually a bit surprised by that. That's okay.
This is easily the best episode of the season.
Yep.
It is tied with the Stranger Things finale from season 2. And I think it's also tied with the season 1 finale as well. So yeah, really, well liked episode by the people.
I mean, the scene, and we really didn't like talk about this moment in depth really, but like that moment where Billy puts himself in front of the Mind Flayer, if there's one moment that's always resonated with me and that I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that's coming, where it just like stabs him right through the chest with one of its tentacles. That's like brutal. Like when I first saw that, I was like, oh my God, like I can't believe he did that. Like he put himself in front of Elle and then was able to overcome its control over him. And he sacrificed himself. I mean, that was knowing that Billy's character really came full circle too, because he was always the jerk. He was always the one who was, because he was so abused throughout his childhood. Like he was then the protector in the end. And I love that moment for him so much. And I feel like that scene might have also spiked it with the ratings for viewers.
We did not give Billy enough credit in this rewatch, but
a great actor.
He certainly deserves it.
Yeah.
He certainly deserves it. And I know people still will go round and round on whether or not they are happy that he's no longer there or sad that he's no longer there. You know, like Billy's character is very divisive.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good run for Billy, I feel like. Good ending.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that they had his character end with the hero's ending, because you saw that like, well, there's a reason why Billy is the way he is. And yeah, it was a good season. And now we're going to be on to season 4.
If you can believe it.
4, second to last.
Well, thank you so much for listening to the We Run on Reruns podcast. Please follow us on our socials, our Instagram and TikTok, and check out our YouTube channel as well. We really appreciate all the support that we are seeing there. And if you could check out our website, werunonreruns.com, we have all of our podcasts in full. Not to mention, you're going to find them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your other favorite podcast player. For Amanda, this is Eric. Enjoy watching Season 4. Episode 1 of Stranger Things for next week. Happy rerunning, everybody.
See you later, guys.